In two different scenes of the film, the symbol appears in distinct forms, first accompanied by strands of hair and later embodied in a piece of amber. This transformation from hair to amber seems to represent the queen's journey toward divinity. Hair as a tangible and earthly sign of femininity and birth marks the beginning of this path. Yet, when the same essence manifests in the form of amber, it ascended to a celestial and sacred level. In both instances, the symbol is rooted in the themes of birth and feminine power, once grounded in earth and body and once elevated to sky and spirit. At the very center of this symbol, her true and divine face reveals itself. The composite symbol observed in the film The Fountain, a central sun, a cross connected to it, and an amber stone at its core, can be considered a clever redefinition of the Iranian Mithraic Wheel, aligned with the filmmaker's artistic and cultural objectives. First, the sun as a central symbol overtly references the concept of the sun wheel in Mithraism, which symbolizes cosmic energy and the cycle of life. Second, the cross, despite its Christian connection in the West, function here similarly to the cross-shaped branch of the Mithraic Wheel, representing the four elements of the nature: water, air, earth, fire, or the four cardinal directions, which in the Iranian mythology are the foundation of the cosmic unity. Third, the amber stone at the center of the sun replaces the sacred stone of Mithraism. Stones used in Mithraic caves to attract life-giving light, and in this symbol, they represent immortality and integrity. The reason for this recreation is the historical distortion of the swastika symbol by the Nazis, which make its direct use impossible for a Western audience. Therefore, by retaining the four-spoke structure of the Mithraic Wheel, the cross, the solar core, and the concept of centrality, amber, the filmmaker has revived the authentic nature of this Iranian symbol in a universally acceptable form. The symbol of ring is one of the oldest and most powerful symbols, holding a special place throughout human history in many cultures and religious systems. This symbol typically represents concepts such as continuity, eternity, and endless cycles. In Mithraic thought, the ring can symbolize the unity and continuity between death and life, beginning and end, or an endless circle that is somehow connected to the concept of human evolution and inner journey. This symbol can also represent a sacred circle where time and space converge, and nothing can stop this continuous flow. The ring in Mithraism symbolizes sacrifice, rebirth, and the process of change an individual undergoes, and refers to humanity's connection with gods and spiritual forces, especially in religious ceremonies where rings are used as a sign of a spiritual covenant or a symbol of cosmic forces. The symbol of the ring, with its aforementioned characteristic, transcends a mere physical object and points to a universal and fundamental concept that aligns with the archetype of unity or wholeness in Jungian psychology. This archetype reflects humanity's deep need for integration and overcoming dualities, such as death and life, consciousness, and unconscious. The place of the ring in Mithraism, covenant, and eternity. Mithraism, one of the influential mystery religions in the ancient world, particularly in the Roman Empire, attribute special importance to the symbol of the ring. In this cult, the ring could symbolize the unity and continuity between death and life, beginning and end, and was in some way linked to the concept of human evolution and inner journey. Furthermore, The ring could be a symbol of the sacred circle where time and space converge, and nothing can stop this continuous flow. In Mithraism, this symbol represents sacrifice, rebirth, and the process of change an individual undergoes. Mithra in Avesta is known as deity of covenant and true connection, and the ring in Mithraic ceremonies was a symbol of the eternal covenant between man and cosmic forces. Roman soldiers who converted to Mithraism would gather around a ring during their initiation ceremonies or hold it as a sign of entering the sacred path, an act that demonstrated their commitment and loyalty to this cult and its principle. The ring was also closely associated with the concept of immortality. In many Mithraic depictions, the god of time, Ayun, known as Zarwan in Zoroastrianism, and the name of one of Jung's important writings, hold a ring that symbolized the cosmic cycle of birth and death. This ring is without beginning or end, referring to the concept of the endless cycle of existence and immortality. This concept has a significant correspondence with the cosmic cycle in the film The Fountain, towards which the Xibalba star moves, symbolizing death and resurrection. Additionally, Mithra is known as the god of light, and the ring symbolizes the path that leads humanity from physical darkness to spiritual light. This connection indicates that the ring was not only a symbol of covenant and immortality, but also a path that achieving spiritual illumination and consciousness in Mithraism. The bound in the mandala. The scene under analysis is a pivotal and symbolic moment in the film that can be examined from multiple angles. It begins with powerful visual elements, including a ring given by the queen to the conquistador, precisely placed at the center of a circle black and white tiles. This color combination is reminiscent of the Yang and Yin symbol in Taoist philosophy, which signifies the unity of opposite and connection of reciprocal forces. This circular form with radial tiles resembling the sun or eastern mandalas is symbol of wholeness and unity. Furthermore, the architectural space of the scene, with its intense symmetry, focused golden light, and ritualistic decoration, evoke a moment of receiving divine relation, consciousness, or covenant in myth. In this context, the ring is interpreted as a sacred marital covenant or an entry into the heroic path. The ring, a universal symbol of covenant, transformation, and connection. The ring at the center of the scene plays a pivotal role as a sacred covenant. This is not merely a simple agreement, but a kind of sacred marital pact or the entry point into a heroic journey, signifying a deep commitment and a turning point in the character's destiny. The act of the queen giving the ring to the conquistador clearly marks the beginning of a transformation. The ring's connection to cosmic rotation, immortality, and commitment to the cycle of existence in Mithraism elevates its significance beyond a merely human pact. This connection indicates that this covenant aligns with universal forces and will have a lasting, perhaps eternal, impact on the recipient's fate. Circular form and radial tiles, reflecting cosmic order and wholeness. The initial analysis points out the circular form with radial tiles in the scene resembles the sun or even Eastern mandalas. This resemblance immediately creates an atmosphere of cosmic significance and inner psychological depths. Yin and Yang, the dynamic unity of opposites. The combination of black and white ties explicitly recall Yang and Yin in Taoist philosophy, symbolizing the unity of opposites and the connection of reciprocal forces. The concept of yin and yang describes complementary yet opposing forces that are intertwined and interdependent, forming a dynamic system where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. This concept originates from a primordial chaos of qi marietal energy that leads to the formation of form and matter. The Taiji-2 symbol, the familiar black and white spiral symbol, visually represent this concept with the black area for yin and white for yang, each containing a dot of opposite color indicating the presence of one within the other. Yin is described as contractive, passive, and feminine and is associated with darkness, the earth, and the shady side of a hill. Yang is described as expansive, active, and masculine, and is associated with light, the heavens, and the sunny side of a hill. In Taoist metaphysics, this duality is an inseparable whole, and distinction between good and bad are perceptual, not real. This concept underlies many branches of classical Chinese science, traditional Chinese medicine, and martial art like Tai Chi, which emphasize balance and harmony. Here again, it's necessary to re-emphasize something complex using Lacanian perspective. In Lacan's view, there is a very famous statement: the woman does not exist. In this view, the issue of femininity or the woman we see in the human social context is not raised, and if we consider Jung's and Lacan's view in conjunction, the natural foundation of life in psychological life cannot even be displayed in the structure of metaphors and words. In the next scene of the film, we witness our story's soldier, accompanied by two other soldiers, enter the Mayan territory and approach the tree. However, a group of primitives intercept them. The two accompanying soldiers try to flee the way they came but are killed by the primitives. Yet the story's soldier is only disarmed and then sent by the primitives towards the pyramid upon which the tree of life stands without being harmed by them. What meanings can this scene and its event hold? Both symbolically and in terms of individuals involved. This scene is very rich and multi-layered in terms of its symbolism and narrative psychoanalytical structure. Let's unpack it step by step. Differentiation of companion and hero. The soul sifting. The hero's two companions facing the sacred or the forbidden zone become frightened and retreat, but in this retreat, their death is sealed. This seems to be a reflection of the idea that fleeing from inner transformation is itself a form of death. In myth, we have often seen that the hero's companion either perish or are left behind so that only the main hero can enter the sacred zone, like Gilgamesh entering the cedar forest or Dante entering paradise. 2. The primitives as guardian of the threshold. In mythological tradition, the boundary for entering another world or a spiritual world is always accompanied by guardians, beings, humans, or trials that prevent passage unless the one passing possesses a specific worthiness or readiness. The primitives here are the gatekeepers of the tree of life. But unlike his companions, our hero is not met with violence. Why? Because he has lost his weapon, meaning he has unconsciously shown a sign of surrender and is ready to enter the sacred realm. Renunciation of violence as a condition for entry. The fact that the hero becomes eligible to enter the pyramid and to the tree by losing his weapon is extremely important. This resembles ancient rituals where entry into a temple or sacred space is only possible if the person has been purified or has laid aside worldly tools. This scene evokes narratives such as Moses entering Mount Horeb, or even the moment Christ entered Jerusalem unarmed. 4. The primitives themselves. Are they a part of the unconscious? From a Jungian perspective, the primitives can be the embodiment of primal and unconscious forces of the psyche. They are not seeking destruction, rather, their actions are based on an ancient and symbolic rule. If the hero does not fight these forces but instead aligns with their path, they will also show him the way. 5. Direction of movement towards the pyramid and the tree. This movement towards the pyramid is accompanied by a path that recalls a ritual ascent. The pyramid here symbolizes the axis mundi, a point that connects earth and heaven. The tree of life has always been at the center of this axis. Absence of resistance from primitives. It's also significant that they did not fight the hero. Why? Because he perhaps represents an individual who has found within himself the necessary readiness for transformation and an encounter with the sacred. He represents someone who is receptive to the mystery.